Hello, welcome back. I'm your host, Muhammad Bey. Welcome to the second season of the Trade Broker's Diaries. On this program, I want to talk to you about how to really be ready to do international trade, whether it's e-commerce or even work at home and having click and mortar or brick and mortar type of business. Several points I want to make to you include this fact. In international trade, you attract to yourself what you are. What does that mean? It means that if you are emotionally and psychologically immature and you think that you're going to do business on the cheap and on the sly, then that is the kind of people that you're going to attract to yourself. It's just as if you were a sociopath or a psychopath. Those are the kinds of people that are going to want to be your friends. Thus, if you're in international trade and you don't know how to do business, or you're trying to scam people deliberately, all you're going to do is attract other scammers and other people who don't know what they are doing. And as a result, your experience in international trade and international business is going to be one fraught with failures. Oftentimes, if you have enough maturity to begin to want to do business, there are going to be a whole raft of things that you're going to want to do. Often with business ideas, it is not always necessary to look over the seas or over the horizon for an opportunity. Sometimes the people that you need to do business with are so close that you don't even see them. I had an experience of this nature recently when a gentleman who I've known for years came to my attention when in the course of a conversation I discovered that he had information that would be very useful to me. And we were already friends and colleagues of a sort, but we never talked about business or trade. And when I discovered that he was a wealth of knowledge, I discovered a very lucrative business opportunity that was right under my nose the whole time. Oftentimes we fail to find business opportunities because of racial, sexual, or ethnic bigotries or chauvinisms. And oftentimes we lose out on opportunities because we're unwilling to talk to people who we think are not really the kind of people we want to talk to, or do business with those kind of people. And it turns out that those people are actually the people we need to be doing business with in the first place. So on this program, I'm going to give you a list of the kinds of things that you should be doing before you start a e-commerce or even a brick and mortar type of business. And then we can review those, and if you have any questions, you can contact me and I'll be happy to help you. So let's take a look.
First of all, this is very important. If you're going to do business with clients in a specific country, learn the ropes. Learn the different cultures. People have different insights and experiences and can offer valuable information with operating a home business, especially when marketing in other parts of the world. So do yourself a favor. If you have no contacts in a specific country, even if you're not doing business with them, Google some people, Craigslist some people, locate someone in the given country who has some insight into how people think and what motivates them. Also, keep in mind that even though English has become the de facto lingua franca of international business, English is not everybody's primary language. People who use English as a secondary language do not always translate the same way. They may misunderstand words that can have more than one meaning, for example. Be considerate of this when communicating with people in other countries. Marketing physical products is not always possible in all parts of the world due to additional costs. If you are selling, make sure that the company products that you are marketing include information or resource products which can be obtained via the internet. Downloads of Microsoft Word documents, PDFs, or audio files or videos is always a good idea. Training and how-to information can be invaluable for every home business. These kinds of products, along with physical products, allow a choice for everyone to purchase. So always have a wide variety of options when you have products that you want to sell. Products you are marketing should also be available for purchase in different currencies. Now, thanks to high-tech advances in banking and the use of credit cards, much of the currency exchanges are processed by the credit card companies themselves. Purchasing goods from other parts of the world has become much easier, so make sure that you have as many options as possible, because if you do not, your competition will. Time differences. This is very important, and it is something that most of us overlook. Plan for time differences. With all the time zones, people we contact in different parts of the world are not always readily available. People in the West, for example, when people in other parts of the world do not get back to them as quickly as we think they should get back to them, we tend to jump to the conclusion that people in other parts of the world are not as diligent and perhaps let the grass grow under their feet, as they say. This is not always the case. People have different schedules and different priorities, and you need to be respectful of these priorities. Give other people the benefit of the doubt. Again, cultural differences can affect how you communicate and how your communications are perceived. For example, responses from others can seem rude or impolite when that is really not their intention. Again, the use of English is a factor here, because the way people use their own language tends to leak into how they use English, particularly if English is a second or third language. So again, always when something is not quite what you think it is, contact the individual and ask them for clarification. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Again, and this is something I said earlier, make friends with people in other parts of the world. You may never see these people, you may never go to visit them in person, but you can use them, they can use you, and the relationships that you build with these people can be invaluable. They can last a lifetime. Learn about their culture, the places where they live. This can be very rewarding over the long term as part of operating a home business or an internet business or e-commerce business. The next thing I want to discuss is something I should have said close to the beginning of this presentation, and that is if you are going to think globally, you should begin to do so as soon as possible. The sooner you begin doing business abroad, the sooner you're going to be able to track the metrics and gauge what is and what is not effective in doing international business. Take the time to study the market. Look at the marketplaces you want to go into. Who's there already? Who's winning? Who's not? The more you're familiar with the country's local demographics, for example, the easier it's going to be to determine the market and promote your brands in that market. You must also find out what the competition is really like. Now, if you live in the United States, the Department of Commerce website is going to be a good place to start for helpful information, including country and fact sheets and press releases. If you have a brand, that is, if you have a single product, a single category of products, when doing business globally, you cannot always rely on the company name to do the heavy lifting for you. For example, if you do not understand English, you may not understand what Netflix is. The same goes for a logo. A crown, for example, may have a different meaning in the US than it does in, say, China or Japan or India. no matter where you're doing business in the world, always ask yourself, what's my name brand's story? And how is it going to be basically accepted in a foreign country? No matter where you do business in the world, ask yourself, what's my brand's story? And how do I best tell that story in this country, whatever this country happens to be? Get out of town. Book yourself a trip and go to the place, to the market where you think you're going to be doing most of your business. The travel aspect is a key part of doing business overseas. Plan yourself a trip overseas. Plan on racking up some frequent flyer miles as well. Make sure that you're using a travel rewards program, for example, that's going to give you some flexibility to reinvest your miles and defray the costs of future business trips. Also, please, keep an eye on the discount travel sites such as Kayak or Expedia Business Travel to learn more about really good deals, for example. This is something that I addressed earlier. Learn the local customs in the country where you think you are going to be selling your products most. This could also dovetail into you learning basic international cultural norms across the board. But if, for example, you're doing most of your business, say, in India, you might want to build some rapport with the people who understand the value systems that are essential to doing business in that particular country. Study up on local customs and dress if you're going to go into the country. Study up on salutations and hospitality, which fork or knife to use, for example, what gestures to use and not to use in certain countries. For example, the thumbs up gesture in many Western countries has a positive connotation. However, the double thumbs up in some Middle Eastern countries, for example, has a very negative sexual connotation, and it's not something that you want to use, even though many people tend to use it again in the West, for example. Be prepared to eat anything that is served to you on a business call overseas as well, and if you can't stomach it, at least smile while you're chewing. Now, this is something that I touched on earlier. Earlier I mentioned that you should find yourself someone in the country that you might be going to, a sort of man Friday, if you like, someone who will meet you at the airport, explain social faux pas, explain what fork and knife to use, explain what gestures are the ones you should and shouldn't use, but also it's very important to find a good sales rep. Now, this is very important and it's very difficult, but finding the right people to help you sell your product is really often the difference between success and failure. If you have to choose between potential reps, pick a person who knows the market. This is preferable to picking someone who knows the product. It's very important, and the reason is simple. You can teach a person about a product or brand, but it's almost impossible, certainly in the short run, to teach someone about a market. So find someone who knows the market, because then you can teach them the way you want to teach them about the particular product and how you want it sold. They can also give you feedback about the ways that it should be sold in that particular market. Now, for the record, when I've needed people to assist me, I've often used what are called virtual assistants. These can be anything from secretaries who write emails and make phone calls overseas to you or for you, or people who do programming for you, who update your website for you, who do research for you and send you the results. In order to find people like this, so-called virtual assistants, I have used various websites such as Warriors for Hire or freelancer.com. If you don't have the time or you don't have the ability to travel, you may want to use a virtual assistant, and again, pick someone who can deal with the issues that you need dealt with, and don't always go for the lowest bidder. The person who charges the least may not be even worth that amount. So pay a little extra, do a little extra homework, talk to these people that
who want to bid on the services that you have need of. Ask them certain questions and just go with your gut and see what kind of answers you get. And those people who are honest with you and seem to give you the most human answers rather than answers they think you want, go with those people. And if they don't work out, try someone else. Now, this is something that I don't normally mention in my videos, but it's very important and it's been overlooked in the past, so here it goes. Study the local laws. Overseas, your company is going to be subject to a lot of unfamiliar regulations, and depending on the agreements that you have with your distributors, you might have significant legal exposures. It's important you keep in mind getting solid contracts with the companies that you're working with, preferably contracts that you can enforce in the United States or Canada or the UK, depending on where you are. This is advisable. Often, when doing business in a non-English speaking country, make sure that you can communicate effectively with your local partners. And finally, the best thing that you can do in order to maintain your business seems fairly obvious, but it's something that is often overlooked, and it is simply this: check in and check in often. If you're looking to expand globally, you're going to need to be in constant communication with your distributors or other colleagues or sales reps. Don't just rely on emails or even phone calls, because this can be impersonal. If possible, use video chat. I personally prefer Skype, and there are some other video chatting software out there that is even better. I say even better because there have been reports that Skype has been compromised in terms of its privacy by the NSA and by other organizations around the world, all doing their best to keep track of what the rest of us are doing. Whether this is true or not, I am not completely sure, but if you're doing international business and you want to maintain your privacy, there's a wealth of information out on the internet about programs and applications and protocols that you can use to maintain your privacy. Getting back to using video chat software, though, setting up most popular video chat software is frankly easy, it's easily accessible, and it's pretty much available to anybody with an internet connection. So if you're looking for making a good impression, use video chat, and also get yourself an HD video conferencing camera or use a conferencing service as well.
One last point before I close. It recently came to my attention that the U.S. Immigration Department was giving lectures or information in the form of videos and other types of presentations to people immigrating from various African countries about not dealing, that is, not talking to or trying to go into business with African Americans. My point here is simple. Don't believe the hype. If these presentations are being made, and I'm told that they are being made, and you're coming from another part of the world, particularly somewhere in the African continent, do not fall victim to this notion that all African Americans, or wherever you happen to be going, the people who are primarily the poorest, for example, are not good subjects for you to get in touch with. There may be a lot of poor people in America, there may be a lot of poor African Americans in America, but they're not all violent, and they're not all stupid, and they're not all the kinds of, they do not all exhibit the kind of stereotypical behavior that you see in TVs and movies. So don't believe the hype about everything that you see in here, regardless of what the source is. The source may be a YouTube video, or a TV ad, or a newspaper article, or a magazine article. It may look innocuous, it may look very serious, it may even look official, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So be careful. Use your own judgment in these matters and follow your nose, because you may find that the opportunities you're looking for are in places you would never ever think of looking.
Okay, there it is. As you can see, there are at least a good number of things you might want to take into consideration. Not all of them addressed here, but a good few things that you might want to look into before considering starting an e-commerce or even a so-called brick and mortar mom and pop type of business on a street corner. There are a lot of other issues that I haven't even addressed here, and I'll try and put some links into the video on the video page so that you can look into those matters as well. Things like grants, taxes, the law, things of this nature. As usual, write to me. My email address is right there. I'm always looking forward to answering people's questions or queries. I'll do what I can to answer any comments that you have. As usual, for all of you YouTube and other file sharing users, please comment, rate, and subscribe to my videos. Again, I'm your host, Muhammad Bey. This is the Trade Broker's Diary. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again at our next video. Until then, take care.
This program is sponsored by Bey's List. At Bey'sList.com, International Classifieds, your ad can be featured as an international classified ad on over 300 cities worldwide. Go to www.beYSLIST.com right now. Thanks for visiting our website. Take care.